Hey, welcome friends. My name is Asraael, here on my channel Asraael, and today we are doing a Whitemane Maelstrom Battleground Leveling PvP tier list. What a long title, but that's what we are gonna do today. And yeah, the superior way of leveling on Whitemane is basically spamming Battlegrounds from level 10 to level 85. That's the best way to level currently, it's the fastest way in my opinion, especially if you have a pre-made team, but you can also random queue, it's completely fine. Per win you get in between like 2 to 3 levels, per lose 1 to 2 levels, and so on. You can also buy an XP boost for double XP, and you get for each level 85 character you have, you get 15% better leveling speed for your twinks. So let's start right into the tier list. We have some god tier classes here. We have some absolute slappers, we have some good classes, and we have okay classes. There are no completely bad classes, that's why I didn't list any bad tier here. Just the not in-game tier for the Monk and the Demon Hunter. So let's instantly start with the Death Knight. The Death Knight is not particularly a god tier. I wouldn't say it's a slapper either. It can be a slapper if played really well, but I'm focusing mainly on button mashing and getting kills. So the Death Knight is okay. I would definitely rank him good. Both specs, Frost as well as Unholy, are very viable. You have good survivability. And in general, the damage of the Death Knight is very, very good. But it's not an absolute slapper. It's not in god tier. But you're dealing pretty good damage. Then the next one is the Druid. I think it should be between slapper and god, to be honest. I would say it's good. It's even better than the Death Knight, I would say. It's a very solid choice. You have a lot of survivability as a bear. I put him slapper, to be honest, because of the feral cat form. With cat, you're absolutely slapping in Battlegrounds. It's really ridiculous how good. If you have a good opener, you have the people in stun lock, you can just shred and get your enemy down in seconds. So he's an absolute slapper, and with the Guardian Druid you have a lot of survivability, a perfect flag runner if you want, so you can heal yourself even as a Druid, so you can go bear form heal, so that's completely easy a slapper class, especially a slapper if you play the cat form. Next up is the Hunter. And oh boy, let me tell you, we even have to do a higher tier than god tier for the Hunter. Hunter pets are so enormously broken on Whitemane currently. So as a Hunter, you already deal very good damage with your shots. You can have a pretty shit bow equipped, it doesn't matter, you do good damage. But your pet, dude, get a wolf at level 10, queue into Battlegrounds, get the sweet buff from your pet, and let your pet do the job. You literally sometimes one-hit enemies with your pet. So absolutely god tier, especially Survival Hunter with Explosive Shot and I forgot the name, Shadow Arrow, Darkness Arrow, I forgot the name right now. You completely slap as a Hunter. I leveled a Hunter myself. I have 85 Hunter, and the leveling experience in Battlegrounds from 10 to 85 were completely smooth. You can completely outrun enemies, you just slow them, shoot them, your pet is doing the rest, completely fine. Next, the Rogue. Absolutely god tier. The Rogue currently, especially sub-Rogue. Assassination is also good, but especially sub-Rogue. Sometimes 1 or 2 hits, especially in lower brackets still, you just one-hit people, or you keep them in stun lock, they can't do anything, and they're dead with like a max 5 hits. So absolutely slapper class. Combat is also okay, but not as good as Assassination, and even not as good as the sub-Rogue. So if you play Rogue on leveling in BGs, play sub-Rogue or Assassination. Or you can also do a mixture spec between sub and Assa, which we know also from WattleK. This is also completely viable, but I would go full sub and then some points into Assa and slap your enemies. It's so easy to slap as a Rogue. Next up, the mage. I have to say I didn't saw that many mages yet. So you of course see the 4 rogues in a battleground, the 6 hunters in a battleground, a lot of druids in the battleground, but mages, not so many, but I still think they're very good. Mages can pretty much slap too. Especially Frost, because you can slow enemies and there are not a lot of gap closers in especially lower brackets, so it's a very, very good class. It's solid. It's pretty solid. You don't have to worry too much about it. And yeah, fire is also viable, but I would definitely play arcane. Is not as viable for lower level brackets, I would say. But fire and frost, especially frost, is very, very good in leveling up to 85 in battlegrounds. Next class, the Paladin. And the Paladin, let me tell you, is a slapper. He's definitely better than the Druid, I would say, even though the Druid is, in terms of DPS, it's better. I'm talking about Feral, so cat form, but I would say the Paladin has more survivability. You have bubble, you have a couple of damage reduction buffs, so I would say the Paladin is definitely a little bit over the cat. Maybe not in terms of DPS, but in terms of survivability. Holy Paladin is a very good healer for the battlegrounds, so if you want to heal, you can definitely do this. You can of course also heal with your Druid in battlegrounds. It's very, very good, but we are doing DPS here, so I would say the Paladin is in front of the Druid in battleground leveling. The Shaman, also slapper, elemental Shaman. You slap in battlegrounds, no problem. It's very, very good. I wouldn't say you can hold up to Ferals or Paladins, Retribution Paladins, but still as Elemental you're making good damage. I wouldn't level as Enhancement because Elemental just slaps, makes way more damage. There are people who are playing Enhancement in Battlegrounds, but most people either Elemental or Restoration. Restoration is also very, very good, so you can pick that very solidly for Battlegrounds. A lot of survivability. Very, very good. Next up, we have the Warlock. And the Warlock is the only class I would put in okay. Don't get me wrong, the Warlock is still good on Whitemane for the leveling brackets from 10 to 85. But I think it's not as good as the other classes shown here on the list. It still does great damage. Especially Affliction does good damage. All specs basically do good damage. But it's not on par with like a mage, which is also not a complete slapper, but still very, very solid. If played very good, of course, the Warlock can also be a god, can also be good, or a slapper even. Same goes for Death Knight. If you play a really good Frost Death Knight, you can even go up to in the slapper tier. But for people who just button mash, the Warlock is probably in the okay tier. You can still level it, no problem. You will have no problems leveling it, but still it's not as good as the other classes. Next up, we have the Warrior, and especially talking about the Arms Warrior, which is absolutely god tier currently. I would even put the Warrior in front of the Rogue, but only the Arms spec. So just think about here, there's a little sign with arms on it. Sorry, I was interrupted there. Where did we stop? So, the Arms Warrior, absolute slapper, absolute god tier in Battlegrounds currently. With an Arms Warrior, you will completely destroy everything in your front. You always see Arms Warriors together with Hunters and Sub-Rogues on the top lists in Battlegrounds. Last but not least, our god tier healer in Battlegrounds. Shadow also does very good damage. Since we are going for damage here, I'm putting it into the good tier. But as a healer, let me tell you guys, as a healer, you're doing very good HPS. You're basically the god tier healer of the Battleground. I would say we put him in the last place at the slapper tier, because of his good heals. Even in shadow form he can still put out some heals, but as a holy priest or a disc priest in Battlegrounds, you are completely crushing it. You're healing your enemies like no tomorrow, and that's the reason why I put him in the Slapper tier. Very good class, very good for leveling up in the leveling brackets, especially in Battlegrounds, as I was saying. So, that's my final decision here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you can get some use out of this for Whitemane, because there are a lot of Cataclysm tier lists, but not specifically for Whitemane. And remember guys, this year is for leveling in Battlegrounds. This year does not represent the end game PvP Battleground tier list. Even though I would say my Hunter still fucking slaps in like the 85 bracket in PvP. Same goes for the Warrior and the Rogue, but it would probably look a little bit different. Hope you enjoyed the video, dudes. If you enjoyed it, leave a sub, leave a like, it would support me a lot. Write a comment, and I see you in the next video. Goodbye.